third jerseys in the Stanley Cup playoffs, a forthcoming farewell in Calgary, some major news in the minor leagues, and the logo reveal for the NHL's next Heritage Classic. This is Threads, a monthly recap of hockey branding news only on Aesthetics. I'm Chris. Thanks for watching. But first, another league-wide jersey program is on its way to the NHL. For context, Adidas delivered Reverse Retro in 2020. That was a set of special uniforms for every team under a simple, cohesive theme: throwbacks with a twist. Then they did it all over again 2 years later with more new designs, Reverse Retro 2.0. The program was immensely popular. For fans, it was a chance to reminisce about old favorites, and for the league and manufacturer, it was a cash cow, a fresh revenue stream for all 32 clubs. So another round was inevitable. Now reports have emerged that Fanatics is working on the next iteration, but it's not another Reverse Retro. According to online reports, confirmed by aesthetic sources, it's called Hometown Remix, and it's all backed up by this official filing with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Though there's nothing official on it yet, there is some context in the leaked name. For one thing, Reverse Retro was a remix in itself, so they're clearly keeping that element. New jerseys with familiar elements. Hometown suggests it's not just a throwback theme, but maybe more tied into the team's locale. You might be familiar with similar ideas in other sports. Nike has produced City Edition jerseys for the NBA and City Connect for Major League Baseball. Hometown Remix is probably meant to be similar to those. I'm still gathering details and plan to have a full report in an upcoming Jersey Watch video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss out. For now, let's dive into this month's feature story. Last December, the NHL announced the 8th edition of the Heritage Classic, one of the league's recurring outdoor games, like the Winter Classic and Stadium Series. The difference is this one is played exclusively on Canadian soil and usually scheduled only once every 2 or 3 years. The next one will take place in Winnipeg this fall, October 25th, 2026, as the Jets host the Montreal Canadiens. And it's an anniversary of sorts, 10 years since the Jets first hosted an outdoor game. Same field, too, home of the CFL's Winnipeg Blue Bombers. On March 24th, the NHL revealed the branding for the event, and this logo immediately stands out as one of the best in Heritage Classic history. An explainer graphic from the NHL highlighted a few interesting features, including the northern lights up top behind the moose antlers. The 3 stars in the night sky are meant to represent the 3 outdoor games in which the Jets have played, including this one. And of course, there's a red maple leaf at the base. That leaf is the through line across all Heritage Classic logos over the years. While we're here, let's do a quick recap. The Heritage Classic started in 2003 with comparatively understated branding. A simple word mark did the trick. At this point, the league didn't yet have a plan for making this a recurring event, as the Oilers hosted the Canadiens in truly frigid sub-zero temperatures. More than 7 years went by before the NHL tried it again, returning to Alberta, as the Flames hosted the Canadiens in Calgary in 2011. This was a memorable logo with a beautiful art style that captured the spirit of the event. In 2014, the Heritage Classic arrived in British Columbia, where the Canucks hosted the Senators. Instead of reinventing the wheel, they iterated on the previous mark, changing the frame color and inserting Vancouver's landscape. With the 2016 game in Winnipeg, the NHL was continuing on a 3-year rotation. But instead of waiting until February or March, they shifted to October to front-load the season with a big event game. With this logo came a brighter color palette, as the Jets played host to the Oilers. For 2019, another big change: the first outdoor NHL game in a non-NHL city, Regina, Saskatchewan. The Jets were the designated home team as they faced the Flames. Not only did this Heritage Classic logo go with an even brighter red than ever before, it came with green accents in tribute to the Saskatchewan Roughriders, the CFL team whose stadium was being used for the game. In 2022, another neutral site and another first. Hamilton, Ontario hosted this Heritage Classic with an American team participating. Even more noteworthy was that the Buffalo Sabres were the designated home team, likely because the Maple Leafs didn't want to give up any valuable home dates at Scotiabank Arena. The logo was the first in the series to avoid beige or vintage white, instead leaning on a steel gray in tribute to Hamilton's Steel City nickname. The next Heritage Classic came quick the following calendar year, but that's because the NHL wanted to capitalize on the 20th anniversary of the first ever Heritage Classic by returning to Commonwealth Stadium in 2023. This time, the Oilers hosted their provincial rival, the Flames, in the first ever outdoor Battle of Alberta. This logo blends a lot of distinct colors, Edmonton's royal blue and modern bright orange, along with the bronze that the team wore in the 1990s, plus Calgary's red. If I'm being honest, the last couple of Heritage Classic logos lacked the heritage vibes of the earlier designs, but I really think this new one outshines them all. The Stanley Cup playoffs are underway, and a couple of teams have opted for a third jersey during the postseason. The Dallas Stars were first to declare theirs after clinching. This black jersey launched last November and was nicknamed the 99 because it's based on what the club wore when they claimed their first and only Stanley Cup championship in 1999. Interestingly, it was the Stars' designated third jersey that season. They won the cup with it and then made it their primary look the following season by adding a white version. So could Dallas repeat history 27 years later? I mean, they already have a white version in the new colors from the Reverse Retro program. But, cup or not, is a rebrand even possible for next season? Fans seem to be excited about the prospect, but I would be surprised if it happened that quickly. Still, history shows it has happened before, and I have been surprised before. By the way, speaking of black jerseys in the playoffs, here's a fun fact. LA Kings uniform history on Twitter pointed out to me that every team that currently wears a black home uniform made the playoffs this year. That's Boston, Carolina, Ottawa, Pittsburgh, Los Angeles, and Utah. However, the Penguins joined the Stars in the postseason third jersey club, and the rollout even mirrored the jersey's initial launch last fall. No big announcement, the team just skated out for Game 1 wearing yellow instead of black. The NHL's second oldest arena will be retired after next season. The Calgary Flames' new building is now under construction, but before they move in, they're saying a final farewell to the Dome. Throughout the 26-27 season, the Flames will wear this logo as a patch on their uniforms, in tribute to Scotiabank Saddledome, which has been their home since 1983. The logo is capped by the arena's iconic concave roof, while the chevron shape at its base is reminiscent of the banners which hang inside. The new Scotia Place is set to open for the 27-28 season. At that point, the second oldest building in the NHL will become Salt Lake City's Delta Center, which opened as a basketball-only building in 1991. But since the arrival of the Utah Mammoth, extensive renovations have been undertaken to make it a better hockey experience. If you're wondering, the oldest building, of course, is the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden, home to the New York Rangers since 1967. Let's move on to that major news in the minor leagues. The previous Threads episode last summer ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, with the new ECHL club in New Mexico announcing their name finalists. As it turned out, they landed on New Mexico Goatheads, and the logo is literally the head of a goat, an ibex to be specific. But the name originally comes from the goathead thorn, a hardy desert plant, which is represented in this secondary logo. And lastly, there's this word mark which incorporates the shape of New Mexico itself. This is more design work coming from the capable hands of the Barn Creative, led by a former Aesthetics Concept contributor. His firm previously handled the identity of the ECHL's Tahoe Night Monsters, based near Reno, Nevada, in 2023. The Goatheads will debut next fall for the 26-27 season, and they will not be launching alone. Earlier this season, the Utah Grizzlies announced the team would be sold and relocated to New Jersey for next season. On January 13th, the new owners announced their new brand, the Trenton Ironhawks. The new mark was developed by a local agency called Adapting Social, but the team's launch video is some of the dopiest generative AI garbage ever seen. Yikes. Now, as two teams take a step forward, one of the best ECHL brands is sadly taking a step back. The Iowa Heartlanders announced the team would be going dormant next season. This is usually the first step before a franchise permanently suspends operations or folds. I know Iowa is a tough market, and all the losing didn't help the team much, but they really did have a great logo. So too bad about that. And on that subject, the American Hockey League is also losing a great brand. The New York Islanders announced they're moving their affiliate from Bridgeport, Connecticut to Hamilton, Ontario. Founded as the Bridgeport Sound Tigers in 2001, the club had this great identity for 20 years. Then, the Islanders made the mystifying decision to rebrand the team with its own name, the Bridgeport Islanders. A major branding downgrade there. But the franchise won back a little goodwill with another redesign 2 years ago. After using it for a third jersey, Bridgeport adopted the old fisherman logo that the Islanders briefly wore during the mid-90s. It was just the kind of fun mark a minor league team should be wearing. And with this season being their 25th anniversary, the club even broke out the old Sound Tigers look as their third jersey for a handful of games. Now, both the Sound Tigers and Fishermen are going away again. With the identity design process well underway at this point, a search of the Canadian government's trademark database has turned up some possibilities. A company called Islanders Holding LLC has applied for 3 names: Hamilton Hammers, Hamilton Havoc, and Hamilton Mustangs. One of these seems like a pretty obvious choice. I would expect an official name and logo reveal sometime this summer. Alright, a few quick hits to wrap up. The NHL is continuing the Global Series, announcing games set in Germany and Finland next fall. The logos are nothing surprising, same design system in use since the event began in 2017. But this will be Germany's first time hosting regular season games. The country has previously had preseason action under the banner Global Series Challenge, in which NHL teams would play exhibition games against local clubs. The Chicago Blackhawks and Ottawa Senators will meet up in Dusseldorf on December 18th and 20th, but before that, the Carolina Hurricanes and Seattle Kraken will face off in Helsinki. Those games are set for November 12th and 14th. The Global Series games don't feature any special jerseys, just a shoulder patch. On February 4th, fresh off their Stadium Series game in Tampa, the Boston Bruins wore their new yellow threads against the Florida Panthers. To make things more interesting, the Panthers wore their Winter Classic jersey from a month earlier. Not only was it a great color-on-color game, but, fun fact, it was only the second time in NHL history that we've seen Winter Classic and Stadium Series jerseys go head-to-head. The only other time it happened was 4 years ago, March 12, 2022, when the Nashville Predators wore their Stadium Series uniform against the St. Louis Blues in their Winter Classic threads. And finally, the PWHL. They've added 2 new teams since the last time we talked up here in my neck of the woods, Vancouver and Seattle. First up, a look at the colors and logo for the Seattle Torrent. The slate green and glacier blue are a bit similar to what we saw from the Boston Fleet, but they do rep the Pacific Northwest pretty well. And elsewhere in the PNW, this is the Vancouver Goldeneyes. Their core colors are more unique: Pacific Blue, Coastal Cream, and Earth Bronze. Neither brand truly stands out, but they do fit in well with the rest of the league. And because the jersey manufacturing had to be done before the brand development was complete, both clubs wore generic sweaters this season, just like the rest of the PWHL teams did in their inaugural season 2 years ago. Proper uniforms for the Torrent and Goldeneyes are expected to be revealed this summer. It's also possible the league could soon announce its next round of expansion. There are reports that the PWHL could add 2 to 4 teams as early as next season. Some of the target cities include Denver, Edmonton, Detroit, Chicago, and others. And that'll mean more new pro hockey brands to talk about in the future. And that's all for now. Thanks as always for watching. Drop a quick like before you go if you enjoyed this video. It's a big help. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that upcoming jersey watch. That's all for now. See you next time.